April 3rd, 2022. This week, like every other week, we have fallen LEOs to honor. This week we have five. We'll begin with Police Officer Dominic Francis, Bluffton Police Department in Ohio. His end of watch was Thursday, March 31st, at age 42. He was struck and killed by a vehicle deploying traffic spikes, trying to stop a vehicle that they were pursuing. The Ohio State Highway Patrol had started pursuing the vehicle and attempting to do a traffic stop. He fled and reached speeds of 130 miles an hour before striking Officer Francis. The three occupants of the vehicle then fled the scene on foot. All three were taken into custody over the next 10 hours. Francis had served in law enforcement for 19 years, survived by his wife, son, and daughter. Next, we have Lieutenant William Lebo, Lebanon Police Department in Pennsylvania. End of watch March 31st at age 63. He was shot and killed as he and other officers responded to, yes, you guessed it, a domestic incident. The house of the owners the owners of the house had returned to discover that there was an emotionally disturbed relative had broken into the house and remained inside. The man was still inside when officers arrived at the scene. A reaction team entered the home. The man opened fire with a handgun, striking the lieutenant and two other officers. And such a tragedy. He was transported to the local hospital and was pronounced dead upon arrival. He had served with Lebanon City Police Department for 40 years and was scheduled to retire only 30 days later on May the 1st. Wow. I mean, you can't even say enough for this officer. Then we have Deputy Sheriff Darren Alameda DuRez, Harris County Sheriff's Department out of Texas. His end of watch was March 31st. We don't have his age, but Deputy Sheriff was shot and killed while off duty when he interrupted three men attempting to steal a catalytic converter off of another vehicle. He and his wife returned to their car in a grocery store parking lot. When he observed three men attempting to steal a catalytic converter, he instructed his wife to run from the scene before confronting the subjects. A struggle ensued. One of the men produced a handgun. During the struggle, the deputy pulled off his off-duty weapon and shots were exchanged. He wounded a couple of the subjects. Anyway, I mean, this didn't turn out well. He succumbed to his injuries at the hospital. The third subject remains at large, and he had served with the Harris County Sheriff's Office for 23 years, was assigned to the Auto Theft Task Force, survived by his wife. Next, we have Police Officer Trey Marshall Sutton, Henrico County Police Department in Virginia, end of watch March 31st at age 24. He was killed in a three-car vehicle crash when a truck drove into the intersection that he was in. He and his training officer were transporting a prisoner at Henrico County Jail when their vehicle was struck by this truck and pushed into a third vehicle. He and his training officer and the prisoner all transported to the hospital with life-threatening conditions. Officer Sutton succumbed to his injuries sustained in that vehicle incident. He had served with the police department for 9 months and had graduated from the police academy in February of this year. He's survived by his parents and fiance. And lastly, Investigator Don Cromes, Houston County District Attorney's Office in Georgia, age 56, end of watch was March the 30th. He was killed in a vehicle crash. And was dead at the scene. Investigator Crooms had served with the Houston County District's Attorney's Office for 2 years, had served in law enforcement for 36 years. He had previously served with Bibb County Sheriff's Office for 25 years, the Georgia Public Safety Training Center for 3 years, and the Middle Georgia University Police Department for 3 years. It doesn't say who he left behind, but all these certainly tragedies, the price of domestic freedom. Our hearts, thoughts, and prayers go out to their families, their police units that they served with, and the community that they did serve in. I'm Don McDowell. Support the Thin Blue Line.